बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रजनरंजना यशोदानंदन व्रजनरंजना यशोदानंदन व्रजनरंजना यशोदानंदन व्रजनरंजना यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe, Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadramai Jaya Sudarshana, Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रेजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। Hare Krishna. Today being Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri, there are millions, or in Indian terms, lakhs of people thronging in Raja Street. But scaled down to our Kanya Desh, we are expecting tens or hundreds of people. So requesting all of you to kindly come forward. Please come forward, so we can accommodate more devotees. Hare Krishna. First of all, I would like to express my total inability and unqualification for performing this service. The glories of Rath Yatra are very, very esoteric, very, very elevated spiritual topics, and I am totally unqualified to speak on this very exalted matter. But somehow I am bound by the instructions of senior Vaishnavas who have commanded me to speak on the glories of Rath Yatra. Therefore, I present this humble attempt in glorification of lordships, although I am unqualified. But I sincerely beg for all of your blessings so that I may be able to perform this service and speak a few words in the glorification of the lordships as delineated by the Acharyas in the Guru Shishya Parampara. Hare Krishna. So we will also invoke auspiciousness by chanting the Mangalacharan prayers. Those devotees who can chant along with me, please do. Those who cannot, I request all of you to please fold your palms in prayer mode, close your eyes, and let us all seek blessings from the lordships. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sarvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauradvise Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachanam pangam langete girim yat kripatamaham vande paramanand mahatam shuri modatade. Kindly repeat after me. Neelachale nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannathaya Te Namaha. Hare Krishna. I'd like to welcome all of you to today's Rath Yatra celebrations. Rath Yatra Maha Mahotsav ki Jai. Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So how many of you have been to Shri Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham? Please raise your hands. Around 30% of you. How many of you have heard of Jagannath Puri Dham? Heard of it? Suna hai. How many of you who have not been yet want to go? Those who have already been also can go again. Haribol. So today we will discuss the glories of Jagannath Puri Dham or Shri Kshetra. We will also listen to the significance of Rath Yatra, which is a very common story or the pastime which most of us might have heard. But there are some uncommon details within that pastime which probably most of us might not have heard in the narrative. So today we will look at some touch points there in that pastime and have an overview of the common well-known story. Also, we will discuss one amazing, beautiful, unheard story. Excited? This story is going to be very, very thrilling. Also, it is of very exalted in nature. So I would request all of you to be in a very prayerful mood, very attentive. We have very, very exciting, interesting things to listen about our beloved Jagannath Ji. And after that, we will also listen to the glories of Rath Yatra. What is the significance of pulling this Ratha? Right? Shri Kshetra. There are many, many names of Jagannath Puri Dham. What are the different names other than Shri Kshetra? Neelachala, Purushottama Kshetra, Jagannath Puri Dham, Shanka Kshetra. There are many, many such names that are mentioned or glorified about Jagannath Puri Dham. Famously known as Jagannath Puri, because it is Puri and Jagannath Ji is there. Simple as that, right? To speak about the glories of Sri Kshetra is like counting the number of water drops in an ocean. It is impossible. How many drops of water are there in the ocean? Can somebody tell? Similarly, nobody can measure the glories of Sri Kshetra. Just to give you an example, the glories of Nilachala is mentioned very detailed manner in the Skanda Purana, which is the largest of Purana. 88,000 verses in Skanda Purana. 88,000. And amongst those, around 30 to 40% are glorifying Nilachala, and the others 30-40% are glorifying Venkatachala. And the glories of Sri Kshetra is also found in Purushottam Mahatmya, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and many such literatures. So there are tens of thousands of verses that are simply meant to glorify this place of pilgrimage. Now, if I have to pick a few points and speak, that will be so unfair, right? So I thought, at least let us understand the name of the place, and who is in that place, why is he in that place. So we will have some context before we discuss about the pastimes of Rath Yatra. Are you all with me? Hari Bol?
Hari Bol.
Nice. The word Shri means what? Shri. Aishwarya, opulence, often referred to Lakshmi Devi, auspiciousness. Srila Rupa Goswami has given the definition. Shri means Sarva Lakshmi Mai Amshini Radhika. It is actually referring to the root of Shri, or all auspiciousness, which is Srimati Radharani. Sarva Lakshmi Mai Amshini Radhika, which means all goddesses of fortune in Vaikunta Lokas. There are unlimited Vaikunta planets, and within each planet Vishnu is residing along with hundreds and thousands of Lakshmijis. Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrama Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajam. Where did all these Lakshmijis come from? So all these Lakshmijis are expansions of Srimati Radharani. All the queens of Dwaraka, like Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jambavati, they are all expansions of Srimati Radharani. But similarly, the gopis of Vrindavan, they are also expansions of Srimati Radharani. So what is the difference between the Lakshmi expansions and Srimati Radharani? The difference is in bhav, or mood. The Lakshmi expansions of Srimati Radharani are in the mood of Aishwarya bhav, whereas Srimati Radharani and the gopis in Vrindavan are in Madhurya bhav. Madhurya, the word itself means sweetness. In fact, it means the epitome of sweetness. Right? So therefore, Sri Kshetra means that place where the Madhurya Lasa or Madhurya Leelas of Srimati Radharani can be experienced. Just the definition itself is so exalted, right? So this subject matter of Rath Yatra and Jagannath pastimes are very exalted. If one's mind and senses are not in control, then it is very difficult to understand these pastimes in actuality. That is why Lord Shri Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mameti samteya. Which means, when you understand Janma karma cha me divyam, they are transcendental. Divyam means transcendental. Evam yo veti tattvataha. This word tattvataha is very significant. When understanding spiritual matters or spiritual instructions, especially the scriptures, there are two ways of understanding scripture. Two ways. How many ways? Two ways. The first way is called Aparavichar. What is it called? Aparavichar. And the second way of understanding is called Tattvavichar. Tattvavichar means that hidden meaning. Aparavichar means only reading the sentence and the language and the grammar, etc. Not much context is obtained from it, right? You need an actual devotee to reveal the inner mood of those wonderful scriptural verses. So therefore, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yovetti Tattvadaha. Understanding in Tattva. That is very, very essential. So, Shri Kshetra is that Kshetra where the Madhurya Rasa of Srimati Radharani can be experienced by the devotees. But by which devotees? Those devotees who actually have the vision, the transcendental vision. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hrideshu Vilokayanti. Means Premanjana, the ointment of love must be anointed upon the eyes of the devotee. Only then they can actually witness these leelas of Madhurya Rasa in Shri Kshetra. That is why Jagannath Puri is known as Shri Kshetra. And the Dham is also extending from the south in Bhubaneswar. Who is the Kshetrapal of Jagannath Puri? Kshetrapal, gatekeeper. Bhubaneswar Lingarajji, Shivji. Okay? And towards the north, so from south, from Bhubaneswar Lingaraj, the Kshetra extends to the north until Konark. And the whole dham is in the shape of a conch shell. So that is why it is called Shankha Kshetra. Right? In the Vaishnava Tantra it is mentioned, Mathura Dwaraka Leela Yak Karoti Cha Gokule Neelachala Sthita Krishna Sta Eva Rachati Prabhu. Whatever Leelas Sri Krishna has manifested in Gokul, Mathura and Dwaraka are all found where? In Neelachala, Shri Kshetra. Therefore, if you want to witness all these Leelas, one should develop this vision, transcendental vision of Premanjana. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he used to look at the Chataka Parva, the Parvata in Shri Kshetra in Jagannath Puri, he used to remember which Parvat from Vrindavan? Govardhan. Giriraj Govardhan ki. When he used to look at the sea, right, at the shore of Jagannath Puri, what did he remember? Yamuna Maya. Yamuna Maharasrani ki. When he used to look at Jagannath Vallabh garden, this is the garden in the midpoint of the street where the Rath Yatra happens. There the Ratha halts for some time and all the millions of devotees who have assembled there give their offerings to Jagannathji. And Jagannathji, because he has huge eyes, right? So he, just by his vision, he accepts all the offerings of the devotees, and then the Rath Yatra procession continues. And that is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also used to take some rest in this garden called Jagannath Vallabh garden. Now when he used to look at Jagannath Vallabh garden, what did he remember? Shri Shri Vrindavan Dham. Shri Shri Vrindavan Dham ki! So some glories I will recite. So of course, when so many transcendental exalted pastimes are happening in this place, therefore this dham and its importance is very, very confidential. One cannot simply buy a plane ticket or a bus ticket and go there and witness all these pastimes. One needs to have that transcendental vision. Only then, by the mercy of the devotees and the Lord, the dham is revealed to the seeker. Therefore, this dham is very, very rare to attain. It is called Durlabha Kshetra, difficult even to Lord Brahma to attain. This Kshetra is also known as Paramapavana, supremely purifying. And because all these transcendental pastimes are manifested in this Kshetra is known as Tirtharaj. Tirtharaj means king of all pilgrimages. Krishna, who is the Leela Purushottam, he is the enjoyer of innumerable pastimes. He eternally resides there as the Archa Vigraha. Therefore, this Kshetra is known as Purushottam Dham. And he is Jagannath, the master of all three worlds. Therefore, it is known as Jagannath Puri Dham. Vyasdev has mentioned the glory. Listen to this very attentively. Vyasdev has mentioned, if one visits Jagannath Puri Dham, there is no necessity to visit any other Dham. Because for one who has visited Jagannath Puri Dham, all the results of visiting all the other dhams are automatically obtained. Shri Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki Jai. There is a beautiful verse in glorification of Neelachal Dham and Neelachala Lord. Kindly repeat after me. Neeladrau Shankha Madhye Shatadala Kamale Ratna Simhasanastam Sarvalankara Yuktam Navaghana Ruchiram Sayutam Chagrajena Bhadraya Vamabhage Ratha Charanayutam Brahma Rudrendra Vandyam Vedanam Saramekam Sujana Parivritam Daru Brahmam Smarami. This is part of the Jagannath Panchakam. I wanted to recite all of the verses, but keeping time and notice, we will continue. Amongst all the mellows or amongst all the experiences of happiness and bliss that is experienced, the most exalted happiness is the happiness that one experiences in connection with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And amongst all the mellows that is experienced by the devotees in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the transcendental mellow experienced by the Vrajavasis is this supermost exalted. Amongst the Vrajavasis, the mellow experienced by the Gopis is the superlative highest. And amongst the transcendental mellow that is experienced by the Gopis, the transcendental mellow of separation, Viraha, is considered to be the superlative, supermost exalted of all transcendental bliss that one can experience. It is called Viraha Bhav. This Viraha Bhav is the epitome of spiritual discussions, and I am totally unqualified to even describe it, but we shall try to see the importance, because it's very important to understand the mood of Jagannathji, mood of Rath Yatra, so that we can understand the inner meaning. Krishna appeared where? In Mathura. After Krishna appeared in Mathura, where did they move to? Gokul. From Gokul they moved to Vrindavan. Krishna stayed in Vrindavan until he was around 11 years of age. After that, Krishna moved to Mathura to rescue his parents Vasudeva and Devaki. And then he also spent some time with Mathura Vasis until the age of 28 approximately. And from there, because of Jarasandha's attacks repeatedly, etc., overnight he shifted all the Mathura Vasis to Dwaraka. And he established the city of Dwaraka, and he ruled as the king of Dwaraka there for around 100 years. And Krishna wound up his earthly pastimes, Bhauma Leela, at the end of around 125 years and went back to Godhead. Of course, it is his planet and he went back to Goloka, which is the topmost spiritual abode. Goloka eva nivasatya kilatma bhuto Govindam Adi Purusham Bhajan. So the Vrajavasis spent around 11 years very, very intimately, very, very closely along with Krishna. After that, they were experiencing intense separation from Krishna. It is said that this separation was consuming the Vrajavasis as though it was a forest fire. That is why the fire of separation is known as Viraha Jwala or Viraha Agni. You know, when fire consumes somebody, if somebody is caught up in a fire accident, if it's a huge fire and they experience a lot of pain and they pass away, that's fine. But if the fire slowly and gradually starts to boil your skin and flesh, and for a prolonged period of time, you experience pain. Which pain is greater? That sudden pain and death, or that prolonged gradual pain? Which is greater? It is said that the fire of separation from Krishna was burning inside the Vrajavasis' hearts and consuming them every single moment. Yugaitam nimishena chakshusham pravarshaitam shunyaitam jagatsaram. This whole world was worthless. Govinda virahename. These Shikshashtakam words are very, very, very deep. Very deep. So when this fire of separation was consuming the Vrajavasis, do you know how the Vrajavasis were reciprocating? All the Gopi mothers in Vrindavan, every single day, because Krishna, when he left Vrindavan, he promised the Vrajavasis that one day I will come back. And the Gopi mothers were thinking that today maybe Krishna will come back. And when he will come back, he will definitely expect some wonderful butter. So then every single morning the gopis used to collect milk, and then they used to make yogurt, and from that they used to collect cream, and then they used to make butter, and then they used to churn that butter and then keep it for Krishna. And then till the end of night, they're eagerly awaiting Krishna's arrival in Vrindavan. And then when Krishna doesn't come, their hearts are completely shattered in a million pieces. And the whole night they're just crying, shedding tears. It is said that the whole of Yamuna is flooded like an ocean. How many of you have been to Vrindavan? The water in Vrindavan is very salty. Do you know why? Because of the tears of all the Vrajavasis. That is the separation. And then again next day morning, the routine continues. They are expecting Krishna, they make butter like that every single day for 100 years. They were slowly burning in the pangs of separation. Krishna's friends, who used to sometimes jump on Krishna, climb on his shoulders, play a running race with Krishna, sometimes tease Krishna, sometimes, feed Krishna. They used to bring their lunch boxes with Krishna, and they used to say, Krishna, you know what I brought for lunch today? Maya packed rasgulla, Maya packed sandesh, Maya packed samosas. So many things for Krishna. And then they used to feed Krishna, and then they used to steal from Krishna's mouth also and eat. That was the kind of intimate pastimes all the Gopas used to have with Krishna. The Gopas were suffering so much in the pangs of Viraha, the Gopas went completely mad. They were maddened in the separation of Krishna. And in that madness, they were hallucinating that all the trees, all the animals, wherever they are looking, they used to see only Krishna. And their madness over a period of time intensified so much that they started to believe in their hallucinations, and they thought, oh, Krishna is always with us. And after that, they stopped experiencing separation from Krishna. Can you imagine the level of madness, the level of separation from Krishna? How many of you want to be mad for Krishna in that way? Human form of life is meant for that purpose. The trees in Vrindavan were about to get burnt in the flames of separation. It is, Rupa Goswami beautifully describes this. He says, the trees of Vrindavan were about to be set ablaze in a huge forest fire. But somehow they are being rescued. How? Because all the gopis in Vrindavan are shedding a huge river of tears, and thereby all the trees are saved. Did you understand?
Yes.
All the trees were about to catch fire, but the tears of all the gopis saved the trees. That is a kind of separation. What to speak of the separation which the gopis have experienced? It is the topmost. I have no qualification to describe it, but I will give you a small hint from Srila, again the Goswami's descriptions only. They give a nice analogy, very beautiful, Rupa Goswami. Listen to it very attentively. When there is peak summer and there is a water body full of tortoises, what happens when all the water dries up? The tortoise starts to dig in the mud and goes inside the mud with a little bit faith that one day it will rain and the water will come back. Have you all seen or experienced such a scenario? Right? Fishes or tortoises. And the tortoise shrinks all its limbs inside and waits eagerly for the rain to come. That is the kind of experience. That is the kind of pangs of separation the gopis are experiencing from Krishna. So in this scenario, what is the ocean? The ocean is the transcendental pastimes, or the water body is the transcendental pastimes of Krishna with the gopis. And what is the mud? The mud is that one promise Krishna made, that I will come back. It is said, Prana Kurma means their soul has taken the form of a tortoise and entered into that promise of Krishna that I will one day come back. Right? But here's a question. Why did Krishna leave Vrindavan? Why did he not come back? It is said that Vrindavana Parityajya Padam Ekam Na Gacchati, which means Krishna actually never leaves Vrindavan. But for the sake of earthly pastimes, Bhauma Leela, on this planet when Krishna appeared along with all of his paraphernalia, pastimes, Nitya Parshada, right, his entourage, etc. For earthly pastimes, there to intensify the love of the gopis towards him, he separates himself from Vrindavan. Why? There is a small story also behind this, not very commonly heard. Interested? I am interested to speak actually. So, all the gopis of Vrindavan have concluded their intimate pastimes with Krishna, and after that, Krishna and Radharani are seated where in Nikunjavan, and Srimati Radharani is seated on the lap of Krishna. At this moment, a bumblebee is so attracted to the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, ki jai. The bumblebee is so attracted to the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, it is completely maddened and intoxicated just at the sight of its Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. And this bumblebee is so intoxicated and is trying to enter into that lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, and at that moment Srimati Radharani is a little panicked and she gets a little scared of that bumblebee. At that moment, Madhumangal comes with a stick and he starts to drive away and chase that honeybee away, that bumblebee away. And then he chases away that bee out of Vrindavan. And he comes running to Srimati Radharani and he says, Radhe, I have chased away, I have driven away that Madhusudan. Madhusudan means bumblebee in Sanskrit. The second Radharani heard that Madhumangal is driven away Madhusudan and he is never coming back to Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani becomes unconscious and she faints. And she says, before fainting, she says, Madhusudan has went away from Vrindavan. I am going to die now. And she faints. And when Krishna, on whose lap Srimati Radharani is sitting and she is now fainting, looks at this scenario, Krishna also is panicked. Oh Radhe, you are about to die. And then Krishna also immediately loses his consciousness. And in this moment, the two parrots of Srimati Radharani, Shuka and Sarika. Sarika is the female parrot and Shuka is the male parrot. Sarika chants the name of Radharani. Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe. In the ears of Krishna. And then Krishna is awake. And Shuka chants Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna in the ears of Srimati Radharani. And Srimati Radharani awakens. At this moment, Krishna feels that when Radharani is personally present with Krishna, Krishna is not able to console Srimati Radharani even for a moment's separation. Do you understand? Radharani is not able to tolerate even a moment of separation from Krishna, and at that moment Krishna is not able to console her. But when Srimati Radharani or Krishna is away from Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani is sometimes embracing the tamal trees because the luster of a tamal tree is similar to the bodily luster of Sri Krishna. And then at that time, Srimati Radharani has some level of comfort because she talks to the trees. She talks to the walls of Vrindavan. She talks to the lamps of Vrindavan, objects of Vrindavan, flowers, everything, the animals of Vrindavan. And in that way, she is at least able to reciprocate in consciousness along with the Vrajavasis. Do you understand? At least she is able to reciprocate. Understanding this is the most exalted thing of spiritual life. But at least we can get a glimpse. Therefore, Sri Krishna decides or determines that it is better I stay away from Vrindavan rather than personally being here. Because if I am here, I am not able to console her. Better that I stay away. Therefore, Sri Krishna stays away from Vrindavan in his Bhaumalila pastimes. When he goes to Dwaraka, all the queens of Dwaraka are wondering, who is this Radha? Sri Krishna is always chanting Radha, 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 Hey Radhe, Hey Radhe in his sleep. How many queens does Sri Krishna have in Dwaraka? 16,108 queens. When somebody has 16,108 queens, do you think that person has the time to miss somebody? On top of that, Lord Sri Krishna has 10 sons and 1 daughter also. Of each queen. But still, Krishna, when he enters into the Antaranga or the inner chambers of the palaces and he is about to sleep with his queens, he is always meditating, O Radhe, O Sakhe, O Jamuna, O Yamuna Maiya, O Nand Baba. In fact, he is meditating on the cows of Vrindavan. O Harini, O Hamsi, O Mridangamukhi, O Surabhi. The queens are completely bewildered. He is the king of Dwaraka and he is meditating on cows and cowherd women. Ordinary village girls, they are completely bewildered. They are not able to understand why Krishna is not even considering the names of the queens, not even once. Dear devotees, when you are looking at the image of a mango, what will you meditate on? Mango. Correct? If you are given a mango directly, will you remember the image? Dwaraka is like the image. And Vrindavan is like the nectarian mango. Therefore, Krishna is always remembering the mango, the Vrajvasis. Right? So, queens of Dwaraka could not understand why Krishna is always remembering Srimati Radharani. And therefore, the very famous narrative or the pastime of Jagannathji's appearance comes. They all assemble in a hall. All the queens of Vrindavan assemble in a hall in Dwaraka. And who do they request to speak the pastimes of Vrindavan or Rajlila? Rohini Maiya. Rohini Maiya. Why Rohini Maiya? Why Rohini Maiya? Because she was personally present when all the Rajlila pastimes were happening in Vrindavan, along with Nand Baba and Yashoda Maiya. Correct? She was in Nand Bhavan at that time. So here's the well-known story. Rohini Maiya was requested, she was given the Vyasasan, and she was requested by all the queens of Vrindavan to narrate the pastimes of Vrindavan. Rohini Maiya, listen to this carefully, unknown detail coming. Rohini Maiya suddenly remembers all the Vrajvasis and the Vrajlilas, and she goes into a state of ecstasy, and she starts to lose her consciousness, and she starts to break down, and tears of love and separation starts to flow from her lotus eyes. And when she is trying to compose and gather herself to begin to narrate the pastimes of the beautiful Vrajlilas, Padmavati, the mother of Kamsa, who is around 100 years of age and hunchback, she enters into the hall. And she says to all the queens of Dwaraka, you all want to listen to that thief and his stealing pastimes? He is an ordinary village boy. Nand Baba and Yashoda, they don't even have the common sense to send him to school. When all the other Gopa boys were going to Gurukula, Nand Baba and Yashoda were sending him behind cows in the village, in the forest. And Nand Baba and Yashoda, although they had 9 lakh cows, they are such stingy people that they did not even feed Krishna proper butter. That is why he is of darker complexion. So in this way, Padmavati, the mother of Kamsa, started to criticize all the Vrajvasis, and Rohini Maiya's face became as red as a million suns. She was furious. How dare Padmavati even speak about the Vrajvasis and their glories? Not qualified to understand that as well. Therefore, Rohini Maiya gives a comment saying that, Padmavati, we all know about your chastity. Listening to this statement, Padmavati becomes very, very furious and goes away from there. Why? Because Padmavati, in her youth days, when she was going along with her maid servants on the bank of Yamuna Maiya, she gets attracted to a Rakshasa. And by their union, Kamsa was born. Kamsa was not born to her and Ugrasen. Therefore, when Rohini Maiya makes this comment on her chastity, Padmavati becomes very, very furious, and she makes crooked faces. You know, all when women get angry, they make crooked faces and go away. That's how Padmavati walks out of the hall there. And then Rohini Maiya requests Subhadra Maiya to stay guard and not to allow anybody to disturb the discussion there. And that's how Rohini Maiya is stationed as the guard at the entrance of the hall. And then Rohini Maiya starts to shower the nectar of Rajlila upon all the queens of Vrindavan. The queens of Vrindavan are stumped just by listening to the glories of Vraj. And when this description is happening, Subhadra Maiya is also listening to the beautiful pastimes of Vraj, and she also goes into a state of ecstasy. That state of ecstasy is called as Mahabhav Prakash. Mahabhav Prakash. And in this state of ecstasy, Subhadra Maiya's limbs and legs completely enter into her torso and her eyes become huge and dilated, and she has a huge big smile in the state of ecstasy. That is the form we all see of Subhadra Maya today as well. And Rohini Maya in the beginning warned Subhadra Maya that wherever there is narration of the Vrajalila pastimes of Krishna and Balaram automatically leave whatever they are doing and run to that place to listen to the pastimes. Just as Rohini Maya predicted, Krishna and Balaram left everything that they were doing and they came to the hall to witness the Vrajalila discussion. When Krishna and Balaram were listening to the narrations of Vrajalila and when they were witnessing Subhadra Maya also in the state of ecstasy, both Krishna and Balaram also were completely ecstatic and they also exhibited their Mahabhav Prakash forms in complete separation from Brajvasis. And their limbs also entered into their bodies and their eyes also hugely became dilated. You can see whenever somebody is very happy, very emotional, right? What happens to their eyes? It becomes right. Therefore, when you observe the eyes of Sri Sri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maya Lordships, their eyes around the borders are red in color. And the pupils are small and the eyes are huge and white. Correct? That's the state of ecstasy. Somebody is very happy, he opens up his eyes, right? So this is the well-known pastime of the appearance of Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra Maya. How many of you have heard of this narration before? So it's a very well-known katha. And Narada Muni also enters into the place where the pastimes are being discussed. And then he also requests Sri Sri Jagannath Baldev and Subhadra Maharani to eternally exhibit or give this darshan to all the personalities of this world so that they also can experience the same feelings of ecstasy which the Lordships have experienced. And Krishna says, Tadhastu, I will appear in Nilachal Dham in the same form. Now, there is a very, very, very intimate and very, very unknown or uncommonly heard pastime of the appearance and Rath pastime of Sri Sri Krishna and Balaram. How many of you want to hear? Haribo! 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 Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Swami Jai Jagannath. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami, Nayana Patagami Baba Tumhe. When Krishna, the setting is Krishna has left Mathura and Krishna is now the king of Dwaraka. Every single minute, Krishna is experiencing extreme pangs of separation from all the Vrindavan Vasis. Krishna for a moment cannot think of anything else other than the Vrajvasis. It so happened that Krishna was walking on the road one day and he had such intense pangs of separation from Vrindavan that Krishna suddenly fell unconscious while walking on the road. And when Krishna was falling unconscious, it so happened by the will of Providence that Narada Muni and Uddhava were in the same place. Narada Muni and Uddhava ran to Krishna and they were catching hold of the Lord and they were desperately trying and attempting to revive Krishna from his unconscious state. And when they were discussing how to revive Krishna, at that opportune moment, Sri Sri Baladev or Balaram appears. Now Balaram, Narad and Uddhav are discussing how to revive Krishna from his unconscious state. Balaramji gives a brilliant idea to Narada. That, oh Narada, what musical instrument does Narada have? Veena. Narada Muni bajaye vina Radhika Ramana naam. Namamani udita haya bhakata gita sam. Narada Muni bajaye vina Radhika Ramana naam. Narada Muni bajaye veena. But what is he bajaye? What is he playing? Radhika Ramana naam. Balaramji gives the idea to Narada Muni that you play the glories, you glorify Vrindavan on your veena and you sing the pastimes of Vraja into the ears of Krishna. As soon as Krishna listens to the Vrajavasis and their glories, he will immediately wake up. Then Narada Muni immediately took up his veena and he's about to play. And then he has a doubt. He tells that Balaramji, if Krishna listens to the pastimes of Vraja and he wakes up from his unconscious state, the second he wakes up, he will run to Vrindavan and he will never come back. So, for him to go to Vrindavan, we have to make some arrangements, right? So, Narada Muni recommends to Balaramji, and Balaramji says that's a fantastic idea. And then they arrange a beautiful golden chariot for Krishna, and Krishna's chariot driver, Daruka is his name. Daruka is also called, and Daruka is ready with the chariot. And then Balaramji says, Bajao! Narada Muni bajaye veena Radhika Ramana naam. Narada Muni is ready with his veena. Once again, he's about to start the concert. And then once again, he gets another doubt. Now, Narada Muni is thinking, Balaramji and Uddhava, if Krishna goes to Vrindavan, and for around 100 years, the Vrajavasis are experiencing pangs of separation, and the whole of Vraj is flooded with the tears of separation of Vrajavasis. And when Krishna sees that all the Vrajavasis are missing him so dearly, Krishna will be resolute that I will not step out of Vrindavan once again. So how will we bring him back to Dwaraka? Bringing him back is going to be very, very difficult. So I have an idea. Why doesn't Uddhava go ahead of Krishna to Vrindavan and console all the Vrajavasis, saying that Krishna is going to come back. You all make nice arrangements to welcome him and be in a very festive and joyous mood. How many of you want to welcome Krishna in your houses and in your lives? Haribo! Then this petition is made by Narada to Uddhavji. Uddhavji is telling to Narada and Balaram that, my dear Narada, you are a very exalted senior Vaishnava, and therefore I am duty bound to obey your instructions. But when an ordinary person laments for separation from another ordinary human being, like a relative or a friend or somebody close passes away, then you can quote Bhagavad Gita shlokas or you can quote Shastras. Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yoganam jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyati. You can say that we are not this body, we are the spirit soul. Jatrasya hi dhruva mityur dhruvam janyamatrasya cha. You can say that for every person who has taken birth, as sure as death, he will certainly die. But all the Vrajavasis are experiencing separation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. Experiencing separation from Lord Shri Krishna and shedding tears is the eternal constitutional position of the spirit soul. It is the eternal constitutional position of the Jivatma. Eternal dharma it is. How can you stop somebody from executing their eternal dharma? In fact, if anybody is crying tears of separation from Krishna, the devotee should encourage them. Cry more, cry more. When I read this, I was thinking, Vaishnavas are a weird bunch of people. who tells people to cry more? Right? So Uddhava is petitioning that, how can I go and console them? Because Uddhava is a Jnani. He is the disciple of Brihaspati. And Uddhava also tells that I already went once on the instruction of Krishna. Was it successful? Utter failure. There is a nice saying in Braj Bhasha. Uddhava bajaye dugdugi, baje mridanga. Prema mridanga means he went with a damaru of Gyan dugdugi. But then he came back with a prema mridanga. So he went to teach the Brajvasis about Gyan, but he became their disciple and came back as a student of Prem. So this is all explained very beautifully by Srila Rupa Goswami. He wrote 2 books. One is Uddhava Sandesh and the other one is Hamsa Duta. Why Uddhava was sent? This is also a transcendental secret. In Dwaraka, there was nobody who could understand the mood of Krishna and his separation from the Vrajvasis. So Krishna was feeling all alone and left out, and he could not share his feelings with anybody. So he thought, in the 11th canto, there are many verses, if you read, where Krishna is emphasizing how close and intimate friend and devotee Uddhava is. Therefore, he nominates Uddhava and sends him to Braj, so that he can get a tinge of that prema bhakti and he also can experience the separation, Vraja Viraha. And when Uddhava experiences Vraja Viraha in Dwaraka, then Krishna can share his feelings with Uddhava. He'll have some chat partner. Right? Uddhava was the messenger from Dwaraka to Vrindavan. And all the gopis send a hamsa, a dove, from a swan from Vrindavan to Dwaraka as their messenger. And beautiful descriptions are given by Rupa Goswami, very exalted scripture. Uddhava Sandesh and Hamsa Duta. So Uddhavaji says, I am an utter failure, I can't do this. Narada Muni and Uddhava turn towards Balaram. और कौन है वहां पे? बलराम ही तो है. Nobody is there. Uddhava and Narada turn towards Balaram and they petition, my lord, you please go to Vrindavan. Balaramji is very happy at the thought of going to Vrindavan. He is thinking, I will once again meet Yashoda Maya and Nand Baba and all the Vrajvasis, and I can once again be in their wonderful intimate pastimes. When he was thinking in this way, he suddenly remembers about the wonderful, beautiful Vrajlila pastimes. And then Balaramji also falls into a state of Viraha Bhav. And Balaramji's beautiful lotus-like eyes are moistened with the tears of separation. Balaramji starts to break down. Can you imagine? In the middle of the road, Krishna is unconscious. Just imagine the scene, Krishna is unconscious, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narada and Uddhava are holding Shri Krishna, trying to revive him. And the Supreme Servitor Personality of Godhead, Balaramji, is also breaking down in tears of separation in the middle of road in Dwaraka. What an exalted pastime. Haribo! Balaramji is breaking down in tears of separation. And Balaramji is telling Narada and Uddhava that when I go back to Vrindavan, I don't think I will come back. I cannot be in separation from the Vrajvasis. Balaramji also says that how can I console the Vrajvasis? In Krishna's childhood, because I am Dauji, the elder brother, I had some level of authority on little Krishna. And Krishna used to listen to me. But now, in Dwaraka, Krishna has so many queens. And now he has become a king and he has a big army and everything. Now Krishna is thinking, I don't have to listen to anybody. Therefore, Krishna is not listening to me anymore. How will the Vrajvasis understand this? The Vrajvasis, if I go to the Vrajvasis and try to console them, the Vrajvasis will say, Uddhava is an outsider, so he can fail. Dauji, you are a family member. How come you cannot force Krishna to come back to his home to Vrindavan? When the Vrajavasis accuse me in this way, what answer will I give them? What answer will I give them? Therefore, Balaramji breaks down in complete ineptitude to perform this service. And then he is also crying pangs of separation. At this very auspicious, opportune moment, who enters into this place? Shri Shri Subhadra Maya ki. Yeah. Subhadra Maya enters this scene. Subhadra Maya tells that I am the perfect person for this particular service. Why? Because I am a family member. I am Krishna's and Balaram's sister. Second, I am not very intimately connected with the Vrajavasis. So they might be fairly new to me. Third, I will go and tell to all the gopi mothers and the gopis that look, all these men are very wicked and crooked people. I am a lady, I understand the lady's emotions. I will go and console all the gopis of Vrindavan that Krishna is coming back to Vrindavan. Girl power, right? So Subhadra Mai says that I will go and console them. Balaram, Narada Muni and Uddhava are so ecstatic when Subhadra Mai gives this petition. They immediately make another golden chariot for Subhadra Mai, and Subhadra Mai is ready to go towards Vrindavan. When Subhadra Mai is ready to go to Vrindavan, Balaramji is thinking, Subhadra Mai will go to Vrindavan. Looking at Subhadra Mai, Krishna will go to Vrindavan. What am I doing in Dwaraka? I will also go to Vrindavan. So then he says, I will take Subhadra Mai and lead the way to Vrindavan. And then Balaramji also has his own golden chariot and he is going ahead leading the way for Subhadra Mai. Therefore, in the Rath Yatra also, even today, whose Ratha goes first? Balaramji's Ratha goes first. And then followed by Subhadra Mai. And after a long time, Krishna aboards his chariot. So in this way, Subhadra Mai and Balaram start towards Vrindavan. And then Narada Muni now finally has no doubts. Narada Muni bajaye bina Radhika Ramana naam. Narada Muni bajaye bina Radhika Ramana naam. Namani Yamani Udita Haya Bhakata Gita San. Narada Muni bajaye vina Radhika Ramana naam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. In this way Narada Muni starts to glorify all the Vraj pastimes on his veena. And for the first time, something amazing happens. Are you all attentive? Haribo! Listen to this very attentively. For the first time in Dwaraka, after listening to the Vrindavan pastimes, Krishna awakens from his unconscious mood in the same mood of Vrindavan. For the first time in history, Krishna assumes the Shyamasundara Tribanga form in Dwaraka. And when he assumes the Tribanga form, Krishna is thinking, where is my flute? No flute in the hand. Then he is thinking, oh, maybe some gopis must have played a trick on me and stole my flute. And then he is looking for the gopis. And then when he is looking here and there, he sees Uddhava. Oh, Uddhava, you are here in Vrindavan. Next to Uddhava is Naradji. He says, Naradji, you are also in Vrindavan? What are both of you doing in Vraj? And he looks around. Then he comes to his consciousness. And then Krishna realizes that I am not in Vrindavan, I am in Dwaraka. And then Krishna immediately is about to run at the speed of the mind towards Vrindavan. And then Narada Muni and Uddhava catch hold of his lotus feet. They say, my lord, we have arranged for a nice chariot for you. And then the thought of going back to Vrindavan once again makes Krishna mad in ecstasy. And then Krishna is intoxicated in Radha Prem. And in this intoxication, Krishna is going here and there, in whose stomach unlimited universes exist. Yasseka nishwasita kalamathavalamya jivanti loma vilaja jaganandanatha vishnur mahansa iha yasya kala vishesho govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. Yasyeka Nishwasita. Just by his inhalation and exhalation, unlimited universes are emanating from the sweat pores of Mahavishnu, who is but a partial expansion of Lord Sri Krishna. That Sri Krishna is now intoxicated in Radha Bhav and now going here and there on the streets of Dwaraka. With great difficulty, Narada Muni and Uddhava catch hold of Krishna, and somehow or the other they make him board the chariot. And then Daruka, with the speed of the mind, he starts to drive towards Vrindavan. Shri Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. How many of you want to go to Vrindavan? Hari Bol. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Shyam, Jai Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Shyam, Jai Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham. Subhadra Mai and Balaram lead the yatra, rath yatra, right? This is how the rath yatra began. This is the origin story of rath yatra. Subhadra Mai and Balaram are entering in the outskirts of Vrindavan. Now let's look at the scene in Vrindavan. Are you all interested? Yes. Give me a big Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Bigger. Hari Bol. The scene is very exalted. Jai Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar Bhagwan ki. Out of the separation from Shri Krishna, Radharani enters into a state of separation which is so exalted. It is the topmost of Viraha Bhav. It is said that in this Viraha Bhav, which is similar to Mahabharava Prakash, the person feels as though he is about to die and leave his body. So all the Vrajvasis were thinking that Radharani is now about to die. Of course, she is the Antaranga Shakti, Hladini Shakti of Lord Shri Krishna, completely spiritual. But still, for the sake of pastimes, this is how they have enacted. Radharani's Kunja is Nidhivan. So in Nidhivan, Srimati Radharani is lying down and she is with Lalita and Vishaka Sakhis. Lalita and Vishaka Sakhis are desperately trying to revive Srimati Radharani from her mood of ecstasy. Now, they were thinking that Srimati Radharani is about to leave her body. And they were telling Srimati Radharani, if you leave Vrindavan, if you leave your body, what reason does Krishna have to come back to Vrindavan? Krishna will never come back and the whole of Vraj will become a graveyard. Can you imagine? Srimati Lalita Sakhi is going into the ears of Srimati Radharani and she's chanting Krishna, 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 Krishna. And then she's once again running and bringing a small cotton swab and keeping on the nostrils of Srimati Radharani just to see if there are any signs that she is, signs of life, that she is alive. And Vishaka Sakhi is doing the Chamar Seva and sometimes she is rubbing the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani and massaging her lotus hands. And in this way Lalita and Vishaka are desperately trying to revive Srimati Radharani and trying to keep her alive. How many of you all want to experience this kind of intense love for Lord Shri Krishna? We cannot imitate, but we have to follow in the footsteps of our acharyas. In the mood of servant of the servant of the servant, like the gopis. Anyway, the news spread in Vraj that Srimati Radharani is about to leave her body. This concept of going viral actually started in villages. In villages, whatever small event is there, it is known to everybody, correct? That person's uncle's great aunt's second cousin has entered the village to see him on summer holidays. Everybody knows. And he brought one can of samosas. Everybody knows. So, in Vraj, also in Vrindavan, everybody came to know that Srimati Radharani was about to leave her body. Whole of Vrindavan is assembled there. And when everybody is assembled, Aniruddha Ghosh, who is Aniruddha Ghosh? The so-called husband of Srimati Radharani in the Bhauma Leela, he comes and he does a very, very astonishing thing. For the first time in his life, he offers prostrated obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani and collects the foot dust on the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani and takes it as Ashirvad. And he proclaims to all the Vrajvasis, my dear Vrajvasis, I have a very important announcement to make. What is the announcement? For the first time in my life, you are witnessing me touching the auspicious body of Srimati Radharani. For the first time. It so happened that I am the devout pujari of Katyayani Devi. And Katyayani Devi appears in the Vraj Leela as Paurnamasi. Paurnamasi has instructed me to appear or take the role of Srimati Radharani's husband to create some separation and some friction between Radharani and Krishna. You see, when you have buttermilk, which is sweetened, it is called lassi. But when you add little spice to it, it is called chas. So similarly, when Radha and Krishna unite, those pastimes are wonderful. But when there is separation and then there is union, then it is even more wonderful. So that way, for performing this service that Vrinda Devi has given to Katyayani Devi, and in service of both of them, Aniruddha Ghosh has accepted this position of the husband of Srimati Radharani. And Aniruddha Ghosh says, I have never touched Vrindavan. Srimati Radharani. And Abhimanyu Ghosh, yeah. And then he says, just like Ravana has kidnapped Chaya Sita, similarly Abhimanyu was married to Chaya Radha. So Abhimanyu proclaims to all the Vrajvasis that actually Radharani is the devout wife of Sri Krishna and Sri Krishna is the actual husband of Srimati Radharani. And in that way, Abhimanyu takes the Ashirvad, blessings of Srimati Radharani. At that moment, Abhimanyu's sister, who is Abhimanyu's sister? Kutila. She comes in the scene and she also tells everybody, Hari Bol, I have an important announcement to make for all the Vrajvasis. What is that important announcement? So far in Vraja, I have made myself, so I have presented myself as the most chaste lady in Vrindavan. And I also used to chastise all the gopis, especially Radharani, that she is not a chaste wife of Abhimanyu, my brother. She used to make many false accusations and find many faults in Srimati Radharani just to prove that she is not, Srimati Radharani is not the most chaste lady, I am the most chaste lady. She tells a beautiful example. Listen to this attentively. Srimati Radharani is like the palace made of uncut diamond. And Jatila compares herself as a small insect that searches for cracks in a palace. Can an insect appreciate the grandeur of a palace? Even if it enters into a palace, it will find a small hole or a crack to enter, correct? So that way, Kutila says, Srimati Radharani is an uncut diamond palace and I am like that insect finding for faults in Srimati Radharani. And then Kutila says a beautiful pastime that just blows my mind away. Kutila says one day Sri Krishna was suffering from an intense fever called Sannyasa Jwara, where Krishna wants to renounce the whole world and wants to leave his body. Very, very intense fever. And then Kutila and all the Vrajvasis are very, very perplexed as to how to remediate Krishna. And then he says, I can only be cured by the waters of Vraja brought by the most chaste lady. How should they bring water? In a pot with hundreds of holes. And not even a single drop of water should be spilled. What are the conditions? Who should bring? The most chaste lady should bring waters of Jamuna Maya with a pot with hundreds of holes. Not even a single drop of water should be spilled. When the Vrajvasis heard this, they thought, till now we only thought the most chaste lady is Kutila. Because everybody knows her like that, the most chaste lady. And then Kutila was nominated. Kutila goes to Yamunaji with a pot with hundreds of holes and she tries to collect water. As soon as the pot was lifted from Yamuna Maya's waters, not even a single drop of water was left. And then Kutila realizes that this was a pastime played by Lord Sri Krishna just to crush the pride of Kutila. At that time, Kutila nominates Srimati Radharani. And then Radharani is able to collect the waters of Jamuna Maya in a pot with hundreds of holes, bring it to Lord Sri Krishna without spilling a single drop of water and cure Lord Sri Krishna from Sannyasa Jwara. Jai Shri Srimati Radharani ki! Jai! So then by this pastime, Kutila announces that Srimati Radharani is the most chaste lady in the entire world and in entire Vrajadam. Jai Shri Shri Radharani ki! Jai! At this moment, an unexpected personality enters into the situation. Who is that? Chandravali from the Vipaksha Gopi Sangh. You see, there are four kinds of gopis who are present in the rasa dance pastimes. The first group is called Swapaksha, which is led by Srimati Radharani, and there is also Vipaksha group, which is led by Chandravali. So they are rivals. So for Chandravali, the Vipaksha group is Srimati Radharani, and for Radharani's group, the Vipaksha group is Chandravali's group. And then there are two more groups. One is called Suhrit Paksha, who are friendly towards Radharani, and the other one is called Tatastha Paksha, who are neutral, right? So the friendly group is led by Shyamala Gopi, and she is friendly towards Radhika, but neutral towards Chandravali. And the group led by Bhadra is friendly towards Chandravali and neutral towards Radhika Maya. But it so happened that in the pangs of separation of Vraj, there was no longer distinction between Vipaksha and Swapaksha, etc., etc. All the gopis unanimously came together and started to shed tears in separation. And Chandravali came to this scene after Aniruddha Ghosh and after Kutila. And Chandravali said, "My dear Vrajvasis, I have an important announcement to make." What is that announcement? Actually, Krishna used to come to enjoy intimate pastimes with my group of gopis, thinking that I am Srimati Radharani. So from distance, Krishna used to look at Chandravali's lotus face and think that it is Srimati Radharani. And then when he used to come close to Chandravali, he realizes that it is not Srimati Radharani, and then immediately Krishna used to chant in pangs of separation, "Hey Radhe, Radhe, Radhe," and he used to go back to Srimati Radharani. And therefore, Chandravali states that Krishna is actually chaste and very, very loyally dedicated only to Srimati Radharani. And Srimati Radharani is the topmost of exalted gopis in entire Vraj. Shri Radha Shyam Sundar Bhagwan ki! Yeah. After these proclamations and after listening to all these pastimes, remember, Baladev and Subhadra Mai have just entered and they are witnessing these discussions. And when they listen to all these narrations and the announcements made by the Vrajvasis, they go into this Mahabhav Prakash ecstasy and they manifest this beautiful tortoise-like form where all their limbs enter into their body and their huge eyes are dilated with big, big smiles. And when witnessing this, Krishna also is entering. Krishna is looking at all the Vrajvasis. Krishna is looking at Subhadra Mai and Balaramji in the moods of ecstasy. And Krishna witnesses Srimati Radharani for the first time in 100 years of separation. As soon as Lord Shri Krishna's lotus eyes glance the beautiful lotus-like form of Srimati Radharani, Krishna immediately becomes unconscious. And he goes into the state of ecstasy in immense, intense, condensed separation. Unimaginable. जय श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर भगवान की, जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की. And then Krishna also manifests this beautiful form which you are now seeing in the deities as Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani. And then Krishna's limbs also enter into his torso. Krishna's legs also enter into his torso, and he has huge round dilated eyes, big smile. And in this way, Lalita Sakhi came to Radharani's ear and starts to tell Krishna that Krishna has arrived in Vrindavan. And Srimati Radharani is very, very jubilant, and she awakens and she sees Krishna, that Krishna is now lying in the ecstatic state. And she instructs Lalita and Vishaka Sakhi to chant her glories and her names in the ears of Sri Krishna. And that way, Srimati Lalita and Vishaka chant the names of Sri Sri Radha in the ears of Sri Krishna, and that's how Krishna, Balaram and Subhadra Mai are also revived from their state of unconsciousness. My dear devotees, when all this happened, Krishna started in the morning from Dwaraka. He entered into the night, and all night the Vrajvasis were desperately trying to revive Srimati Radharani and Krishna, Balaram, Subhadra Maya. By the time all of them were revived, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and Srimati Lalita Devi started to offer Arati to Sri Sri Radha Shyam Sundar Bhagwan, and Vishaka Devi started to chant their glories. Dear devotees, this auspicious union of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna after 100 years of separation in celebration is called Mangalarati. This is the institute, this is the daily regime established by our dear Srila Prabhupada. Shri Radhika Madhavayor Apara Madhurya Leela Gunarupa Namnam Pratikshana Asvadanolupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaram. This is the glory of Mangalarati. This is the significance of Mangalarati. Sometimes people think the Hare Krishnas are crazy. Of course, there are many reasons, but one reason is why are they awake at 4 o'clock in the morning when everybody is just going to sleep? Yanisha Sarvabhutani Yasyam Jagriti Sayami Sanisha Sarvabhutani. Sorry, what is the shloka? Yanisha Sarvabhutani Yasyam Jagriti Sayami Sanisha Sarvabhutani Sanisha Pasyato Muni. Sorry, please forgive me, I forgot the shloka. Point is, for the common man when it is day, for the devotee it is night. And for the devotee when it is day, for everybody else it is darkness. Means it is our duty also to follow in their footsteps. Right? Why people are awaking at 4 a.m. and chanting the Mangalarati? Samsara Dava Nalalida Loka Sranaya Karunya Ghana Ghanatvam. It is this beautiful celebration of Sambhoga Vipralamba Sambhoga. Means the pastimes of Rajalila is like a river, and the two embankments of this river are Sambhoga and Vipralamba, which means Sambhoga means union and Vipralamba means separation. So on the embankments of Sambhoga and Vipralamba, the flow or current of Vrajalila is passing. Right? So Mangalarti celebration is Sambhoga Vipralamba Sambhoga. Union of Sri Krishna after 100 years of separation. Right? After this, Srimati Radharani also is in a mood of ecstasy, and Krishna is very, very pleased with this pastime, and he gives the benediction to Srimati Radharani upon Srimati Radharani's prayer. Radharani prays that, my dear Lord, I want all the people of this world also to witness and to experience the same mood of bliss and ecstasy that we all have experienced in this pastime just now. Krishna is so pleased with this request of Srimati Radharani that he also says, Tathastu, I will appear in the land of Nilachal in the same ecstatic forms of, Mahabhav Prakash that we just experienced right now. And Krishna says that the mood of separation experienced by us from the Vrajvasis, everybody can experience through the deities of and the mood of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra Maharaj. But Krishna says, my dear Radhe, this extremely special mood of separation that you have experienced from me, I will take up the same mood, the same form, the same complexion and appear as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu ki Gauranga, Gauranga, Nityananda. The same mood, the same form, the same complexion of Srimati Radharani's separation from Sri Krishna. Krishna accepts that mood of Srimati Radharani and appears as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this Kali Yuga. So my dear devotees, what is this mood of Rath Yatra? When Mahaprabhu looks at Jagannath-ji, he looks at Shyam Sundar experiencing intense pangs of separation from Srimati Radharani. And who is Lord Sri Krishna or Gauranga? Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nehi Anya. He is Lord Sri Krishna himself in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So when Jagannath-ji looks at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his huge dilated ecstatic eyes, Jagannath-ji is looking at Srimati Radharani in intense separation of Krishna. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is looking at Jagannath-ji, he is looking at Shyam Sundar in intense separation from Srimati Radharani. And then Rath Yatra is the milan or union of these two personalities after 100 years of intense separation. This is the intense mood and bhav behind Rath Yatra. Shri Shri Rathadya Mahamahotsav ki Jai. This is the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When we pull the Rath Yatra and hold the ropes, the devotees are in the mood of Dasa Dasa Dasanudasa, servant of the servant of the servant, enabling all the Vrajavasis to once again unite Srimati Radharani and Shri Shri Krishna. Right? How to understand the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? It is only understood by the Goswamis. That is why Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, has established this celebration of Rath Yatra. Prabhupada used to celebrate Rath Yatra right from his childhood. But now, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, Rath Yatra is conducted in more than 100 cities on the world. Hari Bol! Lakhs and lakhs of people are celebrating Rath Yatra all over the world. And millions of devotees or millions of people are getting benefited by this Prem Sankirtan. That is the glory of Srila Prabhupada. How to understand the mood of Mahaprabhu? It is only by following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada and his sincere followers, who are once again following in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami, who has understood the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is the intense prayer by the Jivatma to engage us in this beautiful pastimes of Vraja Prem. It is a plea by the Jivatma to kindly liberate us from this forest fire of material existence and to engage us as a speck of dust particle at their lotus feet in the beautiful pastimes of Vraja. Dear devotees, now we will be celebrating in the Rath Yatra. I would request all the Matajis and the children first to pull the Ratha, and all the Prabhujis to please engage in Harinam Sankirtan, and followed by the Prabhujis and the Matajis to be engaged in Harinam Sankirtan. Please also continue to maintain this mood of prema, of love. There is enough time, so we will all very nicely, in a very jovial mood, in a very loving reciprocation, welcome the Lordships into our hearts and put our humble plea that kindly engage us as a humble servant in your wonderful nectarian pastimes. In this narration today, if I might have committed many mistakes, and there might have been many short givings. Definitely I am not qualified to speak on such an exalted topic of Rasa Tattva, but it is also important to understand the mood behind this, because this is Mahaprabhu's mission and Mahaprabhu's mood, and we are all following the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if there have been any mistakes or short givings, I offer my prostrated humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.